The Himalayas were in isolation from time immemorial and had taken in their lap too many human beings, guarded them against the alien touch for centuries. Ancient Indian literature and mythologies refer to various ethnic groups who were believed to have an affinity with some divine races. And one such ethnic community are the Kinnauras. Kinnaur is the abode of the mythical Kinnaur, or the celestial singers. Kinnauras are said to be the progeny of Pulastya, according to some scriptures. And their dialect belongs to the Tibeto-Burman family of languages.
As all natural forces are controlled by supernatural powers, from the time of sowing till harvest, God's blessing is desired. This is a typical Kinnauri ritual. The deity is taken on a palanquin around the courtyard, with all the devotees dancing and conversing with it. Life in Kinnaur is marked by the mutual existence of man and God. It is the duty of God to see that there is everlasting peace in the village. Kinnaur is a place of curious coexistence of Buddhism and Hinduism. Kinnaur, a district in Himachal Pradesh, which is the Himalayan state of India, is surrounded by Tibet in the east, Lahore and Spiti in the north, Simla and Uttarkashi in the south. Moving upstream along the river Satluj, one comes across a gradual transition of Hinduism to Buddhism. And so does the ecology, from arid to semi-arid and dry.
Kinnaur had trade relations with Tibet, Yarkand and Ladakh. The Kinnauras used horses, donkeys, sheep and goats for carrying goods as well as for barter. But now that is a thing of the past. As most part of Kinnaur is situated at an altitude of over 6,000 feet, the inhabitants are naturally required to wear woolen garments throughout the year. To have their own regular supply of wool, they started rearing animals like sheep and goat so that they could get uninterrupted supply of wool. The river Satluj originates from the southern face of Kailash at a great height. Reaching the village Khabo, it meets the Spiti river, turning into a torrent, a scene of awful sublimity.
Baspa is a feeder of the Satluj, and people believe that these two rivers are brothers. When they first started flowing, it was agreed upon by them that whoever reaches the point of confluence, which is Karcham earlier, shall retain the name thereafter. Baspa, being the younger, was more boisterous and brought along with him all the paraphernalia of musical instruments, whereas the river Satluj, being the elder, was more discreet and reached the point of confluence much ahead of his younger brother.
The concept of living in harmony with nature is of ancient origin. Indian religious texts, literature, folklore, and legends down the ages bear testimony to not only an extraordinary regard for nature, but even reverence for the natural resources like rivers, forests, and mountains. They are venerated as the source of all human life. Long before temples came into being, worship of trees had been widely prevalent in India. The tree, Kalpavriksha, has the magical quality of being able to fulfill all desires. It is not a tree with many special features, but a symbolic representation of the divine potential of our vegetation. Vegetation adapts itself to the needs of the time, and the land continues to grow forever. It is sufficient to fulfill all the natural needs of man. In our external experience, we can see the world in its plurality, but in our internal experience, we can perceive it as one. This ultimate reality has been termed God.
As the trade with Tibet has come to an end, the people have resorted to cultivation. Vegetables are raised for the local market, while fruits like apples and pears are distributed for sale to different parts of the country. Wheat, barley, and millet are grown in fields at high altitude. As there is not much rainfall, water is used from rivers or streams that originate from glaciers.
Women play a vital role in shaping the economy of the district. Besides helping in agricultural activities like sowing seeds, harvesting of crops, collecting firewood, making hay, they also carry on with their daily household chores. Kinnaur's food habits are basic and simple. The staple diet is oglo, brass and barley. A thin paste of maize flour is prepared and spread on a hot pan and then baked. Rote is akin to an ordinary chapati. Kinnaur is famous for its apples. Apples are not only in abundance, they have also brought prosperity to this region in recent years. Besides apples, grapes, apricots, nyoza, walnuts and pears grow in large quantities. Anguri happens to be the most exquisite quality of spirit. As the name suggests, it is mainly extracted from grapes. The grapes are squashed and put together in a wooden jar along with water and kept for some weeks. The distillation is very interesting. The mixture is poured into a large metal container over a fire. The container is then covered with a stone and is made airtight with mud. Now, a small brass container is placed over the stone. 2 rubber pipes, one bringing in cold water and the other drawing out hot water, are placed in the brass container. And through the 3rd pipe comes out the wine, Kinnauri. The flavor depends on how well the wine is brewed, and how well it is brewed depends on the master brewer, the Kinnauri woman. So priceless is the brewing skill that the woman who has mastered it commands great respect in the Kinnauri community. As we delve beyond the realms of the tangible, we find that the nature-man relationship is not only confined to the ecological or subsistent level, but our environment of supernatural beliefs and rituals influence the nature-man interrelationship. Thus, for a holistic portrayal of Kinnaur life, God, or the spirit, offers yet another dimension, and we find inseparable links and an interrelationship between nature, man, and God.
Although these villages are large, they do not exhibit any systematic plan. They are situated either in the river valleys or on mountain slopes. They are usually divided into 3 or 4 hamlets, separately inhabited by different jatis or castes. The people here are divided into Khosias, who form the upper caste, and the Chamang group, who have low social status. The Khosias are mostly the owners of land and also the tradesmen. The Chamang serve the Khosias as farm laborers and are also leather workers and weavers.
In ancient Hindu texts, there are hymns in praise of Pashan, the god of the shepherds, assigning wool a special position in Hindu rituals. There are also references to the bleaching and spinning of wool, and from these one can assume that a vast ancient knowledge of wool and its weaving processes existed since early Indian civilization.
Once the wool is cleared of impurities, it is pulled apart to separate and loosen the entangled.
The 4 colors commonly used for Kinnaur shawls are red, orange, blue and green, though black and yellow are also used sparingly. On the 7th day after childbirth, the shikor or birth pollution is over, the house is cleaned and the mother along with the baby goes to the chashma or the nearby well and takes a bath. After the bath, as she enters home, child in arm, she performs a significant ritual, walking over red-hot stones. And finally, taking a sip of cow urine. The birth of a child is not only necessary to maintain the continuity of the family line, but also ensure the economic stability of the family. The use of space in Kinnaur is dictated by the continuity of time and the interconnections that exist between mountains, valleys and rivers and the produce of the land. A similar integration adds life to local architecture. The principal construction material are stones and wood. Houses, sometimes spacious and even elegant, are built wherever a suitable site is available. In many cases, a site is chosen with the approval of the local deity.
Temples are quite unique and can be easily distinguished from the other houses. They have projecting balconies embellished with neatly curved wooden flowers, fringes, and even images of the gods.
In most religions and communities, particular times and seasons are set apart for rites and ceremonies. These times are known as festivals. There are more than 100 festivals observed throughout Kinnaur in a year. Some coincide with each other. Some are spaced apart, while others are peculiar to particular villages. Ukang, or Fulaj, is perhaps the most important and highly popular seasonal festival. U means flower, and Kang means to look at flowers, in conjunction therefore implying a delight in flowers. Fulaj is observed for 4 to 5 days. It is during this festival that the gods visit each other, Bailing, as the Kinnauris choose to call it. Though popularly known as the Festival of Flowers, the main purpose of Fulaj is to perform annual death rites, Ating. The idols of the deities are carried on shoulders and accompanied by the musicians and other villagers. They travel great distances to visit other village gods. The folk orchestra on such occasions comprises the lower caste bhajantris, or musicians, whose ancestors were devoted to the local devta, or god. The dhol, or drum, nagra, or kettle drum, shehnai, or flute, bigzal, or cymbals, ranasanga, or the long bronze wind instrument, and the kannal, the silver or brass wind instrument, are the principal instruments that create the divine music for the dance of the gods.
Here we witness an extraordinary incident. Amidst the dancing and the celebrations, all of a sudden, the palanquin carrying one of the gods began to shake and tilt on one side. It seemed that the idol had come alive. Sevaks began pleading for pardon as they believed that God was angry for some fault of theirs.
As the evening approaches, the gods are brought to the village santhang, or ground. These simple but hardy sons and daughters of the snow-capped Kailash abandon themselves to dancing. They make a delightful picture in their festive attire. Faces sparkling with innocent joy, dancing and singing under the blue sky. They love dancing. No festival or ceremony is considered complete without it. The accompanying songs of the women dancers keep the rhythm intact. With his left hand, the leader holds the right hand of the third person, and similarly, the right and left hands of each dancer are held by every third person. The circle slowly keeps on increasing in number. As a rule, they move from left to right, and at every fourth step, the dancers pause for a moment and swing slightly backward or forward. The dance movements are collectively called chalang. During the dance, any two women initiate the song first. This is called balgithang. The lines are repeated in chorus by all the singers, and this chorus is known as jagithang. The dance continues into the early hours of the morning. Happiness cannot be desired, because desire brings misery. This simple philosophy is ingrained in the very psyche of Kinnaura women. They believe in happiness when it happens, but do not demand it and accept all that comes their way. It is in the acceptance of all else that happiness comes. They are not bound by the fearful wish to have, nor by the frantic will to hold, nor to clutch at straws of certainty. They believe that life comes only to those who are not aggressive, to those who are in deep passive receptivity, the attribute that epitomizes Indian womanhood.
Kinnaur marriage is solemnized with a lot of pomp and grandeur. In the Kinnaur society, villages are an extended commune, and goodwill of the village is more important than that of a particular individual. This is quite evident from the manner in which they actively participate in a marriage. The marriage is not confined to the house itself, but to the village as a whole. It involves the prestige of the village. Men, women and children of all ages from the village and also from the neighboring villages participate in the marriage and share the various works among themselves. The women put on their best attire. Dori is a blanket that folds partly around the body and partly comes up around the shoulders, where it is fastened by a large copper or silver brooch. The borders of doris have beautiful designs in various attractive colors. The choli is the upper garment akin to full-sleeved blouse. Chanli is what may be called a shawl. The common headdress is a woolen cap, locally called thepani. The Kinnaur women are very fond of ornaments. The ornaments are made by local lohars who are expert in making artistic designs. They are mainly made of silver and gold. The bridegroom with his friends and relatives visits the house of the bride to bring her, and they are treated with elaborate Kinnaur hospitality. Before dawn breaks, the bridegroom and his party takes the bride to his house. For all fraternal polyandrous societies in the northwest Himalayan belt,
the environmental or ecological conditions at work are almost similar. Curbing or arresting the fragmentation of land in the larger interests of household units is a major concern for the people of Kinnaur. A concerted effort is made to keep the household estate undivided and pass it on to the next generation as such, primarily in the interest of survival and perpetuity. In a society where polyandry is very common, the lady of the house has an extremely important role to play. The mode of marriage is an economic necessity for Kinnaur because brothers have to live in a joint family and depend on local resources for their subsistence. The unity of the family depends upon the care and ingenuity of the lady of the house, who looks after and bestows equal favor on all her husbands.
The village god is then brought to the groom's house to bless the new couple and the family. The bride is dressed and adorned with care. The parents of the groom provide the bride with all the ornaments except the daglo or the silver bangles, which is traditionally given by the bride's parents. In her bridal costume, she looks stunning.
Then come the rites of building sarmo. All the villagers, including their relatives from other villages, assemble and offer belding or presents by way of cash or cloth and other gifts. These are duly noted by the majomis. The bride and bridegroom sit separately, each with his or her close friends and relatives, receiving the presents. Garlands of niosa and walnuts are offered to all. On any appropriate occasion, the people start singing and dancing, and through this, they forget all the sorrows of their hard life. Marriage is no exception. This too culminates with night-long dance. The expression of joy is a sight to behold. The joy of the Kinnauris, a people too beautiful to succumb to the transience of life. Befittingly, they believe that when the twilight descends, the Kinnauri soul prepares to leave its immediate dwelling. But departing from the body, the soul does not travel far, because raldang, or the place of the souls, is right here, amidst the mountains, atop the peaks. Here, the Kinnauri retires in eternal peace, never yet leaving his land.